Welcome, welcome, everyone. So excited to have everyone here with us today. I'm Jocelyn Barumba. I'm the founder of Build and Partners, and we are here today with our April installment of Brand Building in 15 Minutes, where we take law firms' biggest marketing and communications challenges and tell you how to make meaningful change on them in just 15 minutes. We are going to use our 15 minutes today to hear from Buildin's Director of Marketing and PR, Abby Moriarty. She's going to talk to us about best practices for getting attorneys published in legal and business publications. But first, you know us, we're Buildin' Partners. We do marketing strategy for law firms and only law firms. Our team has years of experience working for law firms, so we get it. We know how to move the needle on those marketing, business development, and communications initiatives within a partnership model. Because we work with law firms from the AmLaw 10 to premier boutiques. But we're so excited here to turn things over to Abby and the main event. Abby, talk to us today about how we can pitch, place, and promote attorney articles.
Thank you, Jocelyn. Well, if it hasn't happened already, the day will come when a lawyer wishes to write an article or has already written an article and wants to have it published. So how can you make this a reality? Let's dive in. Let's start at the top. First and foremost, what is a byline? The traditional definition of a byline is literally a line in an article that tells the reader who wrote the story. So in journalism, having your name appear in a byline adds clout to your writing, whereas a more basic story is generally attributed to a staff writer or even no one at all. So as it relates to today's conversation, a byline is an article where you or the lawyer that you're working for are the author. They can be any form of content. It could be an educational piece or an analysis article. It could be a case review or white paper, or maybe even an op-ed or some form of an advice or how-to article. The most important thing is that the lawyer is truly a subject matter expert in the topic or space that he or she is writing about. So why might you publish externally rather than on a firm's website? Well, bylines can be a really powerful marketing and PR tool. When an editor agrees to publish an article by a lawyer, the outlet is extending its credibility to that individual. It's an external recognition that the lawyer is a subject matter expert and that the outlet believes its readers will find value in the content that that lawyer is producing. So the publisher or the outlet provides an immediate sense of credibility and influence and also organic exposure. Bylines also help lawyers reach vast and highly tailored audiences. There's a number of different routes you can go. You can go broad and try to place an op-ed in a business publication, for example, that might have hundreds of thousands, if not millions of online viewers, something like the Wall Street Journal, New York Times, the Washington Post. You might go a regional route if you want to reach a particular geography, sometimes a niche and an outlet like a Chicago Daily Law Bulletin, which reaches Chicago lawyers, or the New York Lawyer, the Daily Journal in California, maybe even Texas Lawyer. You could go the vertical trade route, where you might scale back the readership a little bit, but still reach tens of thousands of readers, maybe even millions in an outlet like Law 360 or American Lawyer. You could go more niche in the vertical space, where you're reaching a more targeted audience, something like a nuclear news magazine or wealth management, risk management, biometric update. There's so many to choose from. But ultimately, bylines not only will include the name, but typically the firm name and a link to the firm as well. So you get that additional boost of the firm's profile and the individual's profile in the piece. And then ultimately, one of the reasons we like bylines is because you can control the message. It's really one of the only ways to exert control over content that's published in a third party, unless you're paying for it by way of advertising. So while many outlets reserve the right to make editorial changes to meet style guidelines, you ultimately control the narrative. And then it provides an opportunity to write about something that the lawyer or you are passionate about, and you know that an audience is hungry for some additional insight. So if a lawyer hasn't decided on a topic yet or needs some help narrowing down a topic, the following questions are great thought starters to help get him or her started. You want to consider, What's in it for the reader, right? A reader should be able to clearly answer the age-old question, what's in it for me? Why should the reader bother with this subject matter? How will the reader's business be impacted? Is there a risk of not being aware of the development or trend that's being written about? What hot topics and trends are you following? What will happen in the next 3, 6, 12 months that clients should know about? What's keeping your clients up at night? What's missing from the media? Where is there a gap in coverage on a particular topic that you can help fill in the space? The key is really to make sure that your topic is topical, relevant, useful, and timely for your audience. Equally important in deciding a topic and finding a home from the article is defining a target audience. So these are a few questions that you can use to help determine who to target. Who might the lawyer want to reach? Who are the current buyers of his or her services? Are they GCs? Are they compliance officers, CIOs, HR personnel? Dig into that a bit more. What do those people need to know about the topic? What information are they looking for? And then if you're really struggling, you could take a look at your competitors. What are they saying about these issues and who are they talking to? So now that you have a topic in hand and an audience, it's time to select an outlet. And there are so many outlets to choose from, if you haven't already picked up on that by the few I've mentioned. So ask yourself, where do your buyers and readers go for information, and what sources of information do they trust when they're reading and looking for new information? You want to look for outlets that are relevant to your topic, the intended audience, and the subject matter expertise of the lawyer. So one way I go about doing this is to start with Google searches. Depending on your audience, you might search for something like, what do general counsels read? What trade outlets are there for CIOs? What are the top newspapers in Charlotte? What magazines are similar to a modern healthcare? These are all different ways that you can get search results that will yield outlets that fall within that audience's bailiwick. And so you want to look for online and print publications. There's many to choose from, particularly more on the online side, the digital side. And then once you have, selection of outlets that you're considering, scroll down to that About Us section and make sure that it really is relevant to your topic and your readers. You can also take a look at their advertising information to see who makes up their readership. There's usually demographic information like titles, age, gender, location, industry, etc. So the advertising source can be a really good wealth of knowledge to make sure that you're hitting the right audience. And then once you land on the outlet that seems most appropriate, search the site for your topic. If it's been covered frequently by the outlet, does the lawyer have something new to add to the conversation? If yes, go ahead and pitch it. If not, you want to go back to the drawing board or consider another outlet. And then take note of who is writing about the topic. Is it primarily the editorial staff, or do they accept content from external contributors? And then seek out the proper editor to pitch. It might be a managing editor or a content editor or features editor. And here's what I mean by that. This top example here is from Chief Executive Magazine. So you can see in the square that they encourage articles and commentary from outside contributors. And they even direct you to a particular email address if you want to pitch your content. And then down below, there's an example for Modern Healthcare. They do not select third-party outlets or commentary, but they do have an editor here if you happen to be a freelance writer. So you can see the editorial direction and contacts right there. And these guidelines are typically found in the About Us section of a website or the footer of a website. You can also Google the outlet with editorial guidelines or submission guidelines, and it'll come up. Or if you have a PR tool like Cision, sometimes you can find this in those outlet sections as well. A quick word about op-eds. I'd be remiss not to mention op-eds as part of the publishing mix. I just really want to emphasize that any sort of op-ed has to make an argument or express a strong opinion. Otherwise, it won't be considered. And those opinions and arguments usually need to be about something that's top of mind or in the news. According to the Washington Post, an op-ed should have a clearly understood argument, provide 2 to 3 sentence key takeaways, and be written in a way that writes the headline for itself. So if it doesn't meet the above criteria, go back to the drawing board before you start pitching. And then just pay attention to the other details before you pitch an op-ed. It'll help things go in your favor when you're talking to those editors. So when it comes to drafting the pitch, you want to sit down and consider, most outlets are already covering news. So how can this article expand upon the breaking news to explain how it affects or impacts a particular audience? In a couple of sentences, you want to explain what it is that the author wants to write about and why it's important now, and then make it clear what the unique angle is and what the readers will walk away with. Provide a few words about the author. Who is the author? How does the lawyer's experience make him or her an expert on the topic? And then provide a suggested turnaround time or self-imposed deadline for the editor to react to. And just keep in mind, most outlets will have an editorial calendar you can look at. So make sure your content aligns with their editorial calendar if at all possible, and avoid the sales pitches. Many outlets don't like to receive content from those deemed as vendors. So you want to make sure it's providing value to the readers and not trying to sell a service. And when you're writing, adhere to style guidelines. There's less onus on the editor and less disappointment from the lawyer side when they're asked to rewrite the content. Make sure you're speaking to the audience that you set out to reach. Provide value by way of information. Is there awareness that needs to be made or a call to action? Be human and authentic, conversational. It's okay to add personal anecdotes and experience to your stories. And then make sure you're using an editor before you submit, checking for proper grammar and sentence structure. And when an editor comes back with suggested changes, it's always good to track them so they can see what edits you made and move the process along more quickly. Last but not least, you want to make sure that when you have proper permissions, you're promoting the piece as much as possible. So publishing it on the firm's website with that permission, whether the outlet grants it to you or you have to buy permissions. Social channels, newsletters, intranets, links can be included in RFPs. It can be handed out at conferences. There's many, many ways to extend the shelf life of that content. And that's what we have today on pitching, placing, and promoting attorney articles. Join us next month as Jocelyn explores ChatGPT for legal marketers, including a live demo. And that was just about 15 minutes. So reach out if you want to learn more about articles, pitching and placing and promoting articles, or sign up for our newsletter at hello@buildinpartners.com. Thank you.